So let me ask you this. There was a lot of teams that made some noise, not necessarily getting the top guys, but teams that had some pretty darn good rosters that were able to add some star power on their team. You think about the Jazz, they go make the deal for Conley. They get Bogdanovich from the Pacers. The Pacers turn around, get Malcolm Brogdon. They get Jeremy Lamb. So they were an aggressive team in this free agency. The East, Eric, outside of the Bucks and the Sixers, maybe the Celtics, Toronto's not going to be in contention this year. So that fourth spot in the East seems to be open. So which of these sleeper teams that really aren't going to be sleeper teams anymore do you think has a better shot to make a run at a Western or Eastern Conference final? Is it a team like the Jazz or is it a team like the Pacers?
Yeah, I think those are both good points. I'm going to actually lean toward the Jazz, though, and it's hard to lean that way because the Western Conference, once again, even with the parity in the league, I think right now, especially now with the news that we've had this week of Russell Westbrook joining the Houston Rockets, I think the West just continues to stay strong. But if Donovan Mitchell and, a guy like Conley was a coveted guy. So if they can move the basketball and stay hot and they're young and stay doing what they were doing offensively, I think the last couple of years where they thought they were going to make a run and they had some bumps along the road in the playoffs, I think that's going to be playoff experience that serves those younger players well when it comes down to crunch time here in the years ahead, where they might be able to pull some upsets and knock a Houston out of the playoffs and knock a Warriors team out of the playoffs and then make a run at a Lakers team or a Clippers team and really kind of stay right there in the conversation. So for me, I think the Jazz are actually closer to competing with some of the top teams in the West than the Pacers are at competing with a Sixers team, a Bucks team, or even a Boston team right now. Now, what I will say, though, is that I think the ceiling on the Jazz is maybe a little bit lower because of how strong the West is, whereas we could be talking in January about the Pacers being a third or fourth seed in the East and no one saw it coming. So I do reserve the right to, kind of go back and say, yeah, Justin, you were right. The Pacers were a team that we should have talked about, or I should have agreed on a little bit more before the season, because in the East, I can see a Pacers team, especially if Oladipo is healthy, making a little bit more of a move toward the top. Whereas the Jazz, I don't see them finishing near the top, but I see them being a thorn in the side of a lot of teams and using that experience that they had with the losses the last couple of years to maybe knock some teams off in that West side.
Yeah, I think the Jazz have been the team that everybody has looked at because they've had some of the sexier moves, the Conley trade and getting a third scorer in Bogdanovich in there. And they're already a team that's kind of already in the middle of the pack in the West. They've kind of found a formula that gets them there. Now maybe they'll be a better regular season team and maybe they can jump up and get that home court. Maybe they're a 3 seed or a 4 seed. But look, Indy made a run last year when they lost Oladipo with a team that looked like they had no chance. And now they bring in a point guard in Brogdon. They're going to get Oladipo back probably 2 months into the season. You still got Miles Turner there, still have Sabonis. Then you add in pieces like TJ Warren, like Jeremy Lamb. They bring in McConnell from Philly, we've seen him can be very effective in spots. So I like the moves they made. I think that they're a team that now in the East, like we talked about, outside of those 3 teams, it's kind of wide open to be that 4th seed and get yourself a home court advantage in the first round. And then like we saw in this year's playoffs, a lot of these teams, all it takes is a bad injury or something at the wrong time. And suddenly or just things line up the right way where one of these top teams, a Bucks or a Philly team, they get off to a really slow start. And they're like the Rockets where they end up as a 4 seed and then they're playing the number 1 seed. And maybe the Pacers catch the Celtics and knock them off and they can find themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think their path's probably a little bit easier because they have to there's less congestion at the top of the East, where the West, as we've talked about, there's a lot of juggernauts there. But I do think that the Jazz are going to be a pain for a lot of those Western Conference teams. I just think it's going to be easier for the Pacers, especially once they get Oladipo back, if he comes back as the Oladipo we've seen for the last few years. I think they just have a better chance of getting themselves in a mix for that 3 or 4 spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. And such a shame that happened to Oladipo because he was really on the rise. So let's close out the show with this one simple question. We're not going to do overtime this week, but let's kind of do a little bit of overtime just in a real quick back and forth because I like to do it's way too early to make a call on anything in the NFL, the NBA, the seasons like this. So let's do the way too early to make a call. What team do you like the best right now in the East, and what team do you like the best out of the West to have a chance to be playing each other in the NBA Finals?
Well, the West, I think we talked about in the first segment.
One team, Justin.
I'm going to lean toward the Clippers. No, I'm going to lean towards the Clippers at this point, even though I haven't seen them constructed with the two stars. I saw enough out of their role players last year where I feel like those guys can fit in with whatever is going to be needed from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And when those two guys are on the floor, especially late in closeout situations, Lou Williams is a guy that can go get baskets whenever they need. So they are not just going to be, even if they go the same route that Toronto went with Kawhi, where they're only going to play in that 60 or 65 games in that kind of a window, they still have enough scoring pop on that team where they're not just going to be getting smashed in those games. They're going to be a team a lot like what you saw Toronto be able to have a lot of success when Kawhi didn't play. I think the Clippers could do the same way and keep themselves up high in the West, where they're going to have a really good seed, a 1, 2, or 3 seed going into the playoffs. In the East, I said that they have the best roster on paper, so I'm going to go with Philly right now because I'm not sure if I'm yet to believe in what the Bucks have done. They really didn't add any pieces. They lose Brogdon. I've got to see either Giannis has to go up another level or Middleton's got to figure out. I mean, they signed him to a 5-year max deal. If you're going to sign for $5 and $178, you've got to find a way to be a great player every single night and get 20 to 24 points a night for this team. Give them that scoring option so everything is not on Giannis. And I'm not sure yet that I'm ready to believe in that. So, like you said, it's way too early. We've got to see what Giannis comes out with. If he can develop that jump shot where teams can't just bog things down like we saw Toronto do to him and just clog their offense, if he can develop that jump shot and take some of the pressure where he's not having to drive every single time with the ball, Milwaukee's got a chance. But on paper, Eric, I think it's Clippers Sixers for me. What about you?
Wow. Were you doing a soccer overtime there, 15 minutes, or what was going on? I'm kidding. I'm going to go with the Lakers and the Sixers.
Oh, shocker there.
Well, I had to be contrarian on the West because for me, it's the Lakers. I think LeBron is just too motivated now. I think the expectations are so high with him and AD. They were the first dominoes to fall even before the Kawhi and PG. And of course, what's going on with the Warriors and the Rockets. So to me, I think LeBron it's now or never for the next 2 to 3 years. So I think for this year, I'm going to go with the Lakers while LeBron is still 34, turning 35 this season, I believe.
38, 39, I don't know.
Yeah, well, whatever. And the Sixers, I got to go with our Sixers. I mean, what a dream it would be for me to see the Sixers in the NBA Finals with the Lakers, because I could root for the Sixers and hope that they win the NBA championship. And if they don't, LeBron gets another ring.
God, that would be an awful thing to have to deal with on this show with you. The only good thing is, though, Eric, is like LeBron now wants to play with his son. So that seems like it's going to give us content on LeBron to banter back and forth for at least the next 5 to 7 years. And then who knows, LeBron may be one of the first guys that ever wants to play with like his son and grandson on the same NBA team. He'll be like 60, but he'll still be out there trying to get buckets.
Is Bronny signed with Clutch yet?
Oh, that's going to happen soon. I mean, there's already a press release drafted somewhere on Rich Paul's computer.
Yeah. What does he just have to be 18, right? I think Bronny can sign with Clutch when he's 18 or whatever the rule is. Yeah, he'll be with Clutch. And then why don't we ramp up those tampering and collusion discussions right away once that happens? Because there's no way. I mean, it'll be worse than the Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball thing. It will be 100 times worse. Because if Bronny doesn't end up with whatever team LeBron is on, LeBron will demand a trade. I mean, it'll be like Bronny and LeBron in like Atlanta, the Hawks, or something crazy. That'll be exciting come 2024. But that'll do it for this episode of Talk Back. It's episode 251. It's been our NBA free agency special. We did run a little bit long, but I can't blame us. The NBA is just jam-packed with content. It is a fantastic soap opera this summer. And we will continue to follow what the fallout is from some of these moves, especially the ones that nobody saw coming, because I don't think the news cycles are done dealing with all of this, especially as the rosters continue to fill out. And as we get closer to the end of the summer, obviously the football season is going to start and we'll be really interested in that. But as October gets closer, I am just really excited for this NBA season. So a lot of things going to be happening here on Talk Back over the next couple of months. NFL is really coming fast. August is upon us and we've got the preseason coming. The teams are going to fill out their final rosters and we'll get excited about week 1 action in the NFL. We'll do our NFL previews for you as we always do. And then of course, NASCAR, one of our other favorite sports, will be heading into the chase for the championship or whatever they're going to call it this year. Justin, thank you for all of the hard work you did on the show notes. Thank you for doing the show twice. And again, we apologize for the delay in the show, but really it was a blessing in disguise because we got all of the content from the NBA free agency to you guys in a manner in which we included all of the biggest stars in the league. So thanks for listening. We hope you have an exciting and great weekend in the world of sports, and we'll talk back at you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Back. Staying current on sports is our #1 goal, so we drop a new episode each Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice. For more info about the show, to meet the hosts, or to partner with us on future episodes, please visit TalkBackFanTalk.com. We really enjoy hearing your take on the world of sports, even when you disagree. After all, this show is dedicated to you, the fans. So get direct access to us on Twitter using @TalkBackJustin and @TalkBackEric. Check out our corporate feed on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @TalkBackFanTalk. We hope you have a great week. We'll talk back at you next time.